I took 5-MeO DMT every single day for the past week. Well, not this past week. This week I actually had like about 2 or 3 more experiences. One really scared me off, which I'm going to talk about. And I'm also going to talk about the integration of all of these 5-MeO DMT experiences. 1 week of 5-MeO DMT, I was a bit out there, and the integration of it was very interesting and still is very interesting and challenging and difficult and turned my life upside down. It's absolutely insane. It's crazy. It's interesting. It's interesting what emerged out of this whole weekend experience. My life is taking a turn, and yeah, and how I want to continue forward with the use of 5-MeO DMT is also a topic that's present. And it's a very interesting substance, yeah. So I had a very tough, challenging experience this week with the substance, which now backed me off from using it a bit more. I started a new business, which is completely nuts. Or I'm in the process of starting a new business, decluttering business, locally. And what else? I went to church today, where there was actually a really interesting presentation about applying the model of spiral dynamics onto our understanding of the Bible, which was really interesting, which I might share a little bit about. And also, I don't have that much time, so this is gonna be about an hour long probably, as I'm gonna be visiting my parents later today. And just to let you know, I am just coming out of a community call. Every Sunday we have a community call in the Psychedelic Actualization Path to Purpose community, where we come together and talk about actually what's present for each of us and how we can actually realize and actualize and discover our purpose here on this life and integrate these higher states of consciousness into our life. Today we had a beautiful call. For now we're just 2 people in there, but it makes it even more intimate, right, and beautiful. And we talked about integrating DMT experiences, trusting life, trusting and building up the foundation on a physical and mental and emotional level to actually have the trust to go into breakthrough experiences, to go into the transcendence with a proper foundation. The use of DMT, how often do we use it, the frequency of it, the dosage of it, all of these things we're discussing in the Psychedelic Actualization Path to Purpose community, and how we can then actually render our service to the world as well, live out our purpose. So exciting things, exciting times. There's a link in the video description if you want to book a call with me and ask some questions about joining, book that call, or I put it in the chat as well. There's a link to directly join as a founding member. I guess just the first 5 people are going to be opening up at this price. Otherwise, the price is going to be going up very soon into the future. So join, don't miss this. It's awesome. It's an awesome community feeling, I think, that we're going to build there. We're going to start with the song, and then we'll jump into all of the reports. And feel free to ask any questions during the stream, and add any comments or curiosities. Mother of the earth, Father of the sky, give us wings so we can fly. Mother of the earth, Father of the sky, give us wings so we can fly. Deep into the mystery, sacred dimensional reality, unfolding endlessly in your grace, in Okay, let's move into this. Where do we start this? Maybe let's take a deep breath, tune in. Maybe I'll take a toke of 5-MeO DMT and feel into the integration of this experience. Whew. Hello, Carly. So, the week for me was beginning with an interesting little tiny low dose 5-MeO DMT experience where I was in the forest. And it was interesting in the way that 5-MeO DMT, even on low dosages and walking, was a new experience for me. I am not quite sure if they fit too well together to walk around on 5-MeO DMT, but I was definitely fascinated by the structures of the trees. Sorry if the audio is a bit low. Maybe I can. I don't know. I can try to maybe have the microphone a bit closer to my mouth. I'll try. Is that better? Is that better, Roll Kala facilitation? Sorry for the technical difficulties today. Much better. Good. Yeah. Good to hear. Yeah. And basically what the 5-MeO DMT showed me last week, I shared it in the last live stream, is that I want to follow my excitement, basically. So what I want to do is feel in every single moment into the authentic embodied presence of where my energy is guiding me, what my excitement is actually calling me to do. So to basically let go of structures, let go of control a little bit more, and just follow the flow of where I want to go. And it was fantastic. I don't know where to start, actually. Where do I want to start this explanation? Because you might expect that the highest excitement of what comes out of these like transcendental, ego-dissolving, blissful states of consciousness is just to sit in meditation all day, or to go out and be in nature, or smoke some more 5-MeO DMT. Well, that was what I actually did, which backfired a little bit. But no, actually what I was inspired to do after this week of loosening and transcending and dissolving some boundaries and barriers was to come back into the physical, to integrate back into daily life, to integrate back into this body. So one thing that was coming up for me when I was kind of like following my bliss, I had a coaching session with a coach of mine. Coaching, I love coaching. It's one of the most fascinating and beautiful modalities that exist here on this earth. I find that's why I'm practicing it, and I love it. But actually what came up in this session is like, I want to do something. I want to help people. I want to work, basically. I want to be of service and work. And so my excitement, even though I've been building up this channel here and psychedelic actualization and helping people to integrate psychedelic experiences and doing all this kind of like community work right here and right now and build out presentations about the nuances of psychedelic work, all that is still present in my life, and I want to continue doing that. But something new emerged for me, and that is that I want to, all of a sudden, like I would have never expected that I would want to do this, but I want to start a local business. I want to start a local decluttering minimalism business and help people to let go of things, to live a more unburdened, free, liberated, clear, essential life. Because I noticed that I love basically just to have very few things. And the less things I own, especially the less things I own that are not absolutely necessary and valuable for me to use or to actively appreciate as decoration on a consistent, almost like daily basis, if I let go of all this unnecessary stuff and clutter, I feel so much more free. I feel so much more focused and clear and aligned and productive. It's like a heavy weight that falls off my shoulders. And as well, it counts for the order as well. Like, I like to have order in my room. Interestingly enough, in childhood, I never like cared about order. I was always like chaotic and lived in chaos, basically. And some people do thrive in chaos, but over the years, I have come to actively kind of appreciate the simplicity of order. Because for me, at least, order is bringing in simplicity into my life. And this practice of letting go of things, and minimalism basically as well, I would even say essentialism. I don't want to boil it down to the minimum, but to the essential, right? This has helped me to feel much more clear and focused and aligned, right? If I have a vision and I have order in my actual physical surrounding and kind of like everything I own, ownership is a very interesting concept as well, but every single item I own that doesn't have a use for me, I can let it go. And it's interesting because sometimes it gets to items, right, which have a very deep personal connotation. You have a memory of like maybe your ex-girlfriend was gifting you a certain item, and now there is a memory kind of stored in that item. There is a connection to that item. But even there, I have found that with certain things, especially with those sentimental things, if I let them go, it's very similar to psychedelic practice. You can see it's an internal deep process of letting go. If I let this go, there's a little bit of more freedom. So actually less stuff equals more freedom for me. More order equals more focus on what's actually essential with my tasks. When I don't have anything lying around in my field, I am much more able to focus on what's really important for me. And that's so beautiful, and I love that. And over the past weeks and months, I have helped other people kind of like declutter a little bit, and I enjoyed the process actually. So now all of a sudden I'm out of nowhere, I'm excited to build a local decluttering business and move into that kind of space with the coaching skills and everything. And that came out of the 5-MeO DMT experience. Because the 5-MeO DMT experience, it basically broke away so many layers of thoughts of what I thought I was gonna do, what I think I was gonna be controlling and building up and planning around. All of these structures and all of these plans and all of these thoughts were broken apart by actually connecting me to what's really present, and then just following certain exciting ideas and say like, no, this is not aligned to what I've been building up the last 8 years, but no, this is what's alive and present and exciting for me right now. And so when I moved into this excitement, everything became a bit more effortless. Like, on a moment-to-moment basis, I was feeling like, okay, what's present for me? I want to do this. And so because I did this from this place of excitement, it became effortless. Because it didn't come from a place of, I think I should do this, or I think I should control my life in order to, or myself in order to do this, or discipline myself in order to do this. But no, I was flowing effortlessly into that direction. And then until I didn't want it to do it anymore, and then it flowed into a different direction. Still, what I noticed, interestingly enough as well, when you follow your excitement and you move into new areas, new avenues, new projects, new passions of yours, inevitably there's going to be a point where, and I quickly came to this realization like after 1 day or 2 days, where it's like, oh, okay, there is still some challenges present with this new endeavor, with this new business, with this new passion, with this new project. There's going to be real challenges, there's going to be hard work involved, there's going to be blockages and actual like technical difficulties in setting things up. Am I still excited to move through those? And this is where it kind of like gets a bit interesting to say like, okay, it's not that I want to avoid hard things, but I want to do what's truly aligned and right in my heart, and where my heart and my being is actually calling me to be. And that's been kind of like the process that's been going on for me in the past week. Another downside of this I noticed, well, it's not a downside, but it was just an interesting observation, as at times, not always, at times I was like in this deep focused flow of investing in one project and just immersing myself hours into this. But at other times there was like a sense of almost like this ADHD kind of like distraction. Not distraction, but like I could be like in one task, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not excited about this anymore, so I'm gonna jump to the next task, do that for a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm not excited about that anymore, jump to the next task, do that for a couple of minutes, feel like I'm not excited about that anymore, and jump to the first task again, and then kind of like circle around of these tasks minute by minute, and that didn't really feel aligned. But then I was maybe falling more into this unawareness again, being unconscious of what's truly aligned and exciting, because then it's again this speeding up and trying to do something again at all times. And what the 5MEO basically showed me in the past week was to come back, always come back to center and slow down. Maybe take a breath, maybe go for a walk, and center yourself. Come back to that centerpiece of yours, to that silent, peaceful state of being instead of doing. And then don't be afraid to remain there for a while. And then maybe something else is gonna come up and emerge. That's the true authentic excitement and desire that is coming up and emerging. Because I noticed in the integration, it's difficult. It's not that easy to remain in that centered, silent space and act out of this true excitement and not fall into my habitual kind of like habit of doing things and then thinking about the next steps of doing this or doing that and following up on this and having to do that. But to remain in that centerpiece, right? Without the 5MEO DMT. but follow that excitement from that centerpiece. Lincoln, happy to see you here. I have no experience with that compound, but psilocybin gave me a strong rising vibration with eyes closed. My body was trying to reach a destination. It was so weird because I felt divinity. Interesting experience. Yeah. I mean, there's certain facets of the psilocybin experience that are similar, but also 5-MeO DMT seems to be a very unique substance as well. Roll is saying chaos birth order and vice versa. Yes, absolutely. Order gives rise to chaos and chaos gives rise to order. And it's interesting, right, regarding these two words of chaos and order. I find if we zoom out, there's like certain different streams of thought in philosophy and spirituality where in which we could say everything is chaos, right? Pure existence itself is chaos, and it's just the fundamental fact of reality that it's by its nature is chaotic, and only non-existence is where we can transcend, or where chaos is transcendent, and everything in existence is chaos itself. And then there's a different point of view which says, or similar stream of thought but different point of view which says, or different way of phrasing it, which is saying everything is order. The divine order of things is already in place everywhere at all times. It always has been and it always will be. It has always been perfect and it always will be. I find that quite interesting. And it resonates with me as well to say like everything is in perfect order. Basically the chaos that we're experiencing, there is a higher intelligent order that is running through this chaos, which we might not comprehend or understand with our human mind. That's what the psychedelic experience is showing us at times, right? Lincoln is asking, have you ever experienced a full rebirth on 5-MeO, or is that different from toad venom? It's not different from the toad. It's a bit different. There's quite a bit of like discussion around the differences of toad with this 5-MeO DMT. So basically, the only reason why somebody would smoke the toad is because of the molecule of the 5-MeO DMT. And you can smoke that synthetic or pure or extracted from certain plants as well. And with the frog, with the toad at least, there are many other compounds included in the toad secretion. So there's a bit of bufotenine and there's a bit of all other kinds of like compounds, and it makes the experience a bit more unpredictable, I would say. But the essence of it, what people describe, especially in the full release doses, in the breakthrough doses, is basically a similar or the same kind of experience. And yes, I have experienced full rebirth on 5-MeO DMT. I would say about 2 times now. This past week and this week as well, I have not come to that place of full rebirth, full release kind of transcendent territory. But now we're coming to the story of the challenging 5-MeO DMT experience. I have tried. I was like feeling earlier this week on Tuesday, So like 5 days ago or something, 6 days ago, I was feeling like, okay, last week was beautiful. It was this immense, amazing opening and releasing and ever more profoundly and deepening connection to the divine and to that true source of my being. I felt like I was ready to go into the full release, full rebirth experience with 5-MeO. So I took my 1 to 2 vape pen, the strongest solution that I have at the moment. I might need the 1-to-1. And I prepared myself a bit. I was not in the best mindset, I would say, to go into this experience, but I prepared myself a little bit. And kind of like, well, not too, I didn't prepare too much and wasn't maybe in the best mindset to go into this experience, which is interesting, which might have played into the experience as well, and went into one of the highest dosages I've done, like at least from the past week. And it was a very uncomfortable experience. Like, yeah, it was one of the one of the only experiences, one of my first experiences which felt very challenging, very, very challenging, and nasty is not the right word, but profoundly challenging, profoundly confronting with my own sense of ego, with my own sense of unwillingness to surrender. It was tough. It was a tough experience. I took like, it was probably 2.5 full long hits of the 1-to-2 solution, which should have been like around, I don't know, 15, 20 milligrams. I would have to look up the calculations of the 5-second look. A 5-second draw of the 1-to-2 solution should be around 2.9 milligrams of 5-MeO DMT. So if I give that into the calculation, one big hit of the draw of my vape pens is about 11 seconds. So it would be double the amount. So like 3, I would say 6 times 2, right? That's like 12 plus 3 more, I would say then, is like 15 milligrams of 5-MeO DMT. And around 15 milligrams should be in the higher dose range, for sure. So for some, it definitely gets them into this full-on breakthrough experience. But for me, in this instance at least, it did not, which is very interesting and good for me to know now also the dosage, that it was about, roughly about calculated 15 milligrams. It should have been at least. So it took me very far out. Like I almost couldn't take the third hit because it was like so immediate. It's so immediate and it took me so immediately straight out of the body, of my mind, basically. But the full release experience, for me at least, from the reference points where I've had it, it's a full transcendence. And here there was a point of awareness which I could identify as myself. So basically myself, or my identity as me, my egoistic mechanisms of mind were still intact and could observe the experience, which basically brings this experience into an experience of duality. And it was tough to stay in that duality, and then kind of like the process first foremost was to try to surrender, right? But it was so uncomfortable and confronting for this sense of self and this egoistic, dualistic separation of perspective that it was very difficult to fully let go into the experience. And so, well, it was nothing else. There was nothing else I could do than just to observe what was happening. But very quickly, I felt like, okay, like this is intense. This is too intense. But I cannot escape it. But I cannot fully surrender into the non-dual transcendent space. And that was confronting. That was tough. and also because it was such a, I would say, high dose of 5-MeO DMT, it was a very long experience. It was probably, yeah, like the other ones I had were they felt much shorter, about like 15 to 30 minutes. This one was longer than 30 minutes for sure. Maybe around an hour. Even hours and hours after the experience, I still felt this intense energy in my body. Like, I've had this a couple times, but this one was very extreme, where I could feel my body completely vibrating for hours upon hours after the experience, into the night. Like, I could still feel the vibrations of this charged up energy. And it was a bit uncomfortable, for sure. Like, yeah. And in the experience then itself, like after 15 to 30 minutes where I was like slowly coming back, it got worse. The more the ego structure that was kind of like broken apart a bit was coming back, it brought in more resistance even to that intense high state of energy, where I was then kind of like in this space where you don't want to be, which is like, okay, like I'm ready for this to end, basically. Please let this end. I'm ready for this to end. I want to escape the experience. I don't want this anymore. It wasn't too extreme. It wasn't too panicking or too bad, or I wasn't like freaking out, but I was struggling. Like, I was struggling. Well, no, it's included, like, why in the phrase. I am struggling. The I is the root of the struggle. But also it kind of like, it taught me lots of different things. One lesson I take out of this experience, which I'm going to share a video about as well in the coming, well, it's going to take a while till this is published, but one lesson I take out of this experience is determination. It taught me a lot about determination. That for every endeavor that we're starting, right, with the business that I was referring to, which I'm going to start now, with the project of Psychedelic Actualization, right, which is running for over 4 years now, almost 4.5 years we are running here on this channel with this work. There is a certain sense of determination. If you want to do anything in life, there has to be a certain sense of determination. Hey, Respero, good to see you here. I'll answer all your comments very soon. Hello, user, and yeah, all of you other guys, I'm going to answer them soon. So, especially as well in this 5-MeO DMT experience, there, for example, the centerpiece to which the determination, the act and will and the skill of determination is referring to is, for me, the act of surrender, right? So in the experience itself, it taught me that what's stronger, right? Is it the uncomfortableness and the falling into victimhood and complaining and wanting to escape to a comfortable state of being, which is hard to do while you're very much in deep psychedelic space? Or is your determination to surrender to the experience stronger than to want to escape? Right? And this goes deep. So it taught me a lot about the cultivation of determination, even though things get rough. And things are going to be rough either way, at one point or another, throughout your journey, with whatever project you're doing. If it's sharing your passion here on YouTube, if it's going into a career path that you love, if it's going into psychedelic space over and over again and working with these medicines, with these substances, with these molecules, there's going to be a time where things are going to get really tough. And then it's on you to say, like, how determined are you? How strong is your determination? How strong is your commitment to that which you truly want to do? And it's a fine line. There's a balancing act and a nuance of stepping back and taking rest and right, balancing everything out and choosing your battles, basically. But when you have chosen your battle, it feels to me that there has to be a strong determination to move forward and to move and be ready for the rough waters that you're going to be encountering on whatever path, whatever project you're working on. And as well as, like, only through that sense of determination, only through that cultivation of commitment and taking responsibility, basically, you are showing the universe that you're ready for receiving the benefit of that. Because if you're uncertain, right, within your own heart, within your own being, within your own spirit, if you are uncertain, if you truly are ready for that endeavor, if you are even ready for the result of what you wish for, then the universe is going to be reflecting that back to you. And you're not going to be able to then, I don't know, manifest or attract or create the reality that you wish to see, because you yourself are not fully committed, determined, or taking responsibility. But you are radiating out that vibrational frequency of uncertainty and insecurity. Same goes for the psychedelic experience with these more like lofty or intangible terms like surrender. And if there's not a full determination and commitment to surrender, then that doubt and that insecurity and that fear is going to creep in, and it's going to be amplified in the psychedelic experience. Even on your spiritual path, you can say that there's got to be a determination towards this union with the divine. So now for me as well is as well with it's one of the biggest parts of the integration of this experience now is for one to be really determined towards following my highest excitement. Even though I have been falling back and am still falling back at the moment into old habits and behaviors and disaligned behaviors, which is to be expected and totally natural, that in my heart there's still a full 100% determination towards coming back to my center, resonating and feeling into that place of embodied presence and resonance and the truth in the moment of my being, and then following where life or God or that presence and that energy is guiding me to. Basically, by listening to my highest excitement, by following my bliss, by following my joy, and be determined to follow that, be determined to come back to that over and over and over again, even though I may fall off many, many times. And then the other part that was coming up, before I answer your comments, I'll share this one more thing regarding this lesson of determination, which I'm still contemplating and I'm not sure about. This experience, it scared me to, or like it made me like, okay, it made me back off again. And I was so excited about the 5-MeO DMT last week, and now I had this one challenging, tough, rough, confronting experience where my ego was like, struggling, I don't like this. Then now I'm contemplating, okay, like, how determined am I to move and deepen and cultivate my relationship to the 5-MeO DMT experience further? And that's an interesting one. It's a personal one for me, because I'm always playing around with these like streams of thought of where and with what plant or substance I would like to move into developing a deeper connection to be able to facilitate in the future. I'm reading, for example, the book Facilitation of 5-MeO DMT Experiences, where people share their facilitation style of 5-MeO DMT. No, reading a book is not going to qualify you to sit for people, but only, first of all, deep personal experience and vast, immense, intense familiarity with the space will, and then probably also the further education around the safety practices, preparation, navigation, integration, holding a space, maybe doing some training programs. I'm looking at Martin Bolt's training program at the moment, or the 5-MeO education training program, facilitation training from 5-MeO. Right, this is a decision point. So now, and I noticed this pattern in my life over my whole psychedelic journey over the past 9 years, that I explore the substance. I'm getting excited about exploring that substance because it's giving me all these like beautiful little sweet treasures and bits and pieces of bliss. And then it gets rough, and my ego doesn't like that, and then I back off and I go to the next substance. First of all, I take a little break, and then I go on to the next substance. I'm like, oh no, that substance, LSD, is not for me, and then I go on to the next. And then I play around with mushrooms a little bit, and then it gets hard, it gets rough, I get a bit of a traumatizing experience, I go too far, my ego doesn't like it, I'm like, oh no, mushrooms aren't it, I go on to the next substance. Same with ayahuasca, same with the 5-MeO, and so I circle around kind of like and play around with all kinds of substances and molecules over my journey. And now I'm at this point of like, okay, if I truly believe in the potential of 5-MeO DMT and I'm truly called to go deeper into this process with this substance, there's going to be, like in every single relationship with the substance or with the human being, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be tough times. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be screaming and jittering and shaking and crying, out of laughter and out of sadness, out of bliss and out of terror. Am I ready to move through all of this even more and furthermore with the 5-MeO DMT? And this is a question that I'll leave up to debate and that I will trust will resolve itself automatically. But I am, at the moment at least, this one last experience which challenged me kind of like was a call for grounding. I'm like, okay, I'm happy to be grounded. I'm happy to just do worldly things at the moment. Go to the gym a lot. That was a big part of my integration process. Engage a bit in eating food and, I don't know, having a sip of coffee and enjoying my life and actually building up physical local business and doing physical stuff and ground myself in my state of being and in my identity structure. And then I'll see on forward if I truly do feel determined to go further with the substance of 5-MeO DMT. There's something which excites me about this substance at the moment, and I might go into this furthermore, even though my plan for this year was actually to go further with ayahuasca. So interesting, right? It's interesting. So now I'll come to all of your comments. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant around determination, but one of the most crucial lessons from this tougher 5-MeO DMT experience. So Roald is saying, Yes. Of Woody. No, yeah, Woody is saying. Felt I was totally one with everything. Just came back from a great trip, man. Yes, beautiful to hear. Namaste. Rolt is saying, yes, it's funny how you can almost do this with everything. Everything is chaos, light consciousness. It's the central paradox. Everything is nothing and nothing is everything. Oh, brother, that's it. That's the essential paradox of life itself, right? It's the infinite mystery and the beautiful, the most beautiful paradox. The structure is in the dynamic organization through manifestation of paradox. And we have to cultivate the embracing of that paradox. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. And it's so hard for the mind to accept, right? Our mind, at least my mind, I don't know about yours, but the mind is always coming back just like, this can't be. It has to be logical. It has to make sense, right? And this process of sense making is taking place, and every paradox is bringing a wall of resistance onto the mind, and it can only be overcome by actually cracking the mind open, leaving it behind, leaving logic behind, and actually tapping into this mystery of paradox and embracing it. It's the only way. It's the only way, and that's the only way to come to a deeper understanding of what's going on here. So yeah. Lincoln is saying, Terence McKenna talks about fully slaying the ego so it doesn't get in the way. I've never been there, and the thought is terrifying. Lol. I've dissolved on 3 grams of psilocybin, but never full death. It is absolutely terrifying. And it seems to be that there's lots to say about this, because it's interesting to say, like, okay, what does it mean to slay the ego completely? Like, there seems to be, even in the psychedelic space and in spiritual practices, there seems to be like a cycle of death and rebirth, as Stanislav Grof or Christopher Beisha are talking about it at times in their books and in their research. And I resonate with this, that we can say, even in psychedelic space, there's levels of ego death. There's layers towards this ego death. So one layer and one level of this death is just to dissolve the identification with your body and with your mind. And when that is transcended, that's kind of like the death of that kind of level of identification. And then you come into a greater, more expanded state of identification, but you might still be identified then with a certain psychedelic self, or even on the soul level, what people call a soul. You might identify yourself with being a soul, right? Lots of talk in the New Age community and spiritual circles, right, about being a soul, right, having this light body, and so there is a transcendence of the ego mechanism, but there's still another level of ego in place. There's an identification with a psychedelic self. There's an identification with a shamanic persona, and then there is, if you go further, there you come to a point where you wanna, or where you have to let go of that identification with the soul, and you're like, the soul is basically dying. It's a deeper form of ego death, or a deeper form of death, because you resolve and dissolve the identification with being a soul or being your psychedelic self, and you're dying into that, and then a new level, a new vaster, more holistic, integrated point of awareness and identification is emerging. And then you might feel like you're one with all of humanity, and you identify with what people might call the collective unconscious, or the heart of humanity. And you merge with that earthly kind of like oneness and connection to all things. But that is still a point of identification. That is still something that has to die, and then you transcend that, and you die into an even greater whole of the whole of existence, or whatever else, right? It's like the mapping is still going to be done, and is still like done by certain people. And I myself am working on kind of like mapping it out for myself and finding reference points in my own experiences. But there's layers to this identification, and then ultimately you might come to a point where there's a full transcendence of the ego. And it's interesting that you mentioned Terence, right? Because I don't know how far Terence went into this full dissolving of all identification. As, for example, he's talking about his psilocybin experiences, or in his DMT trip reports, he's describing a very dualistic interplay between his awareness and the elves or whatever, right? The machine elves and him, or him and the mushroom entity and the other, right? And the other and him kind of like communicating and merging, and it's this interesting play. But ultimately there has to be the recognition, at least from the non-dual perspective, which I might take on right now, that even the other has to be recognized as an identification of yourself, or as not being separate from yourself. And then there's even deeper layers with the 5-MeO DMT, where people might report like this, right, full release experience or a reboot where they transcend into just pure white or black or whatever, right? Also possible with other substances. And it seems to go on in infinitely. Like, there seems to be no end to this. Like, as I have mentioned in my presentation around psychedelics are not a magic pill, it's some of my best work yet. If you haven't watched it already, I'll share the link with you. It's a full masterclass about psychedelics, and towards the end I'm talking about this based on reference points and quotes. I wrote the link in the video description. No, here, I wrote it here in the chat. That basically, where was I? Yeah, that basically there's no end to this, and God is infinite, and so we can go on infinitely into infinity, and transcend ever more deeply, and let go ever more deeply, and so then the term of an ego is a very interesting one, as it seems to be just the first layer of this ever more deeply transcending into infinity, and this ever more bright light, which seems, I think Leo Gura, and I'm gonna come to him in a bit, Leonardo, is describing in his video how psychedelics work as this knob that you can turn with psychedelics, and it's this knob that is just gonna be like you turn on the light, you turn on and off the light, right? And if you turn the knob, there's gonna be like more light and more light and more light, and it's gonna be brighter and 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 brighter, but it's an infinite knob. You can turn up the light infinitely, like the knob doesn't end. It's an infinite knob of ever brighter light. Hard to imagine, hard to describe. I haven't been there myself in my experiences, just glimpsed it a little bit, and also come up with barriers obviously are going to be coming up of fear of death. Many people report this, that at one point or another in their psychedelic journey, like you come to a point where you're terrified basically to lose existence, and it's a natural fear, right? And I think for myself speaking, I haven't fully transcended that complete fear, like that of death or of this ceasing to exist. but from what I've heard from many friends and people in the psychedelic scene who have gone into this intense death rebirth process over and over again, as Chris Beige is also saying in his book LSD in the Mind of the Universe, he's saying at one point or another where you die so many times that you recognize that your innermost essence, it always re-emerges. There's always a rebirth. Like your innermost essence, it cannot die. It's impossible for you to die, basically. And then that is the healing part and the healing effect of the psychedelic, that is then giving rise to this knowing and this deep knowing and understanding within your heart that you cannot die, basically. Not you as your ego, not you as your identification with the body, with the mind, with the psychedelic persona, with the shamanic persona, with being a human itself, but your innermost essence, which is that pure light. It cannot die. And in that knowing, I find there springs forth a sensation of infinite peace. It just has to be peace, because what else could this realization give rise to? And then I equal that word of peace with a capital P with happiness with a capital H, with joy with a capital J, with bliss with a capital B, with freedom with a capital F. An ultimate sense of freedom, happiness, joy, bliss, peace. I think this is the greatest gift of the psychedelic and of just like the recognition of self-realization, right? Which is what it's all about. User saying, Magic Truffles intense. Yes, absolutely. Leonardo is saying, do you like Leo Gura? I would say yes. I don't agree with everything he's saying. I think he's a very interesting and unique character. Like, just like his way of articulating certain things. I don't like the way he's communicating at times with the viewer or the audience, like his style of communication. But I do resonate with the core of what he is trying to communicate. So I love following him around. I discovered his channel probably like 8 years ago or something, when he shared his experiences of, I think it was a 12 or 13 day 5-MeO DMT retreat, where he was doing 12 back-to-back days of 5-MeO DMT explorations. And then I was seeing his face on YouTube earlier, and I was like, I don't know, I don't resonate with this. And then I saw this, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like a guy who's doing back-to-back 5-MeO DMT and having very intense realizations. That's super interesting. And since that day, I kind of like followed him along. And yeah, I do really appreciate his work. I think his understanding and his possibility to take on this bigger picture perspective is absolutely wonderful. But then about the embodiment and the integration of that understanding, I I don't know. Like it's yeah, I don't know him personally. Of how much this great understanding of his is being embodied and demonstrated on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, I love his work. Much appreciated. I think it's a gift to humanity, but not to be taken on just as it is presented, but just to be contemplated and actually, well, what he's basically saying, directly experienced for yourself. Woody D is saying, I don't know about yourself, but I also think after you have taken a dose and you're at a certain place, if you do breathwork during this, does it intensify without actually taking DMT? I feel like it does. Can't explain it. Yes. After I've taken a dose and I'm at a certain place and then I'm doing breath work, it intensifies every experience, no matter what you're doing. If you're doing breath work, being in a sweat lodge or being in a sauna, if you're doing breath work, I like to do it. I haven't done it during psychedelic space too much, but sometimes I do it at the beginning of a psychedelic experience to emerge into the space. Not with DMT or 5-MeO DMT. That's more like a I'm so shocked and in awe, and it's so intense already that I almost forget to breathe. But with certain like LSD sessions, or I did it with my first ketamine experience, I was breathing myself into the experience during the come up, doing some intense breath work, and for sure it just completely intensifies the experience. I'm not quite sure about the release of endogenous DMT during breath work. Sure, that's possible, but it does make the experience much more intense. But also, yeah, I would just speak words of caution. I don't know how grounded this is in actual reality or how true this is, but I have heard that it can take you quite far, right? So, and psychedelic space itself, especially during high dose, is already a very intense state for the body and for the mind. And if you do breath work on top of that, you basically combine these two modalities, you can get very far out. And that inherently includes some dangers. And yeah, as I said, I don't know how true this is, but there has been a story that I've heard or read a couple years somewhere that somebody who did LSD, high dose LSD sessions, and then intense breath work on top of this died. So again, I don't know how grounded this is in reality. I don't know the source of that story. I don't know if they played anything else into this, or if it was a Mahasamadhi, or if it was an actual physical reaction, or if it was bad LSD or whatever. But yeah, just careful if you combine these two powerful modalities of breathwork and intense psychedelic journeys, because it can get pretty intense. But also, I found it is a beautiful combination. If you're in an experience and you feel like there's a potential to actually intensify a bit more, breathwork can be a wonderful way to do it instead of redosing. Roald is saying, yeah, 5-MeO is pretty intense. I'll have access to some for a month soon, but I think I have too much else going on, so I don't want to do it without proper grounding when everything is moving. Yeah, that's wise, bro. All the best. If you're about to do it and you feel like in the right space, then let me know, and I would love to hear what your experience is like. Respergo, are these challenging experiences like the worst nightmare? Rold is answering. Respergo, they are overwhelming and intensely confronting usually, but still valuable from a personal growth perspective. I would agree. That's a wonderful explanation and perspective. I like to take on that perspective as well, to say like, okay, at least in the phrasing of challenging experiences, it is a immensely valuable perspective to take on, to say every experience, no matter how challenging it is, I'm growing through this. And I don't know what your worst nightmare is. I'm not too much in the dreaming world, but yeah. Certainly, it can get pretty bad. Like, it can literally come to the manifestation of your worst nightmare. Because it's what is your worst nightmare? It's basically your greatest fear, I would say, right? And there can be the potential that you're going to be confronted with your greatest fear, and so it's like the confrontation of your worst nightmare. But then, first of all, it's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to see, are you ready to face that? Are you ready to love that? Are you able and willing to appreciate that and move through that, move into that? Not run away from your greatest nightmare, not run away from your deepest fear. Right? As Joseph Campbell said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Ultimately, when I moved into the greatest fears of mine, right, I found there is a great pleasure. There's a treasure, there's gold, the diamonds are on the other side of that fear. I think it was Terence who said, right? Terence McKenna, who said that if you go into the grounding, like into the falling abyss, and you realize, wait, no, he said, what did he say? I'm going to look this up. Terence McKenna, he said, nature loves courage, right? So courage means also facing your greatest fear and going and being able to embrace your worst nightmare. He says, nature loves courage. You make the commitment and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible dream and the world will not grind you under. It will lift you up. This is the trick. This is what all these teachers and philosophists who really counted, who really touched the alchemical gold, this is what they understood. This is the shamanic dance in the waterfall. This is how magic is done. By hurling yourself into the abyss and discovering it's a feather bed. So, in that sense, the confrontation of your greatest nightmare has the potential to be a great opportunity for a deep realization. But, understandably so, and I would agree for myself and for many other people, not everybody is always, and not at all times, is everybody ready to face that. To face that greatest fear, to face that worst nightmare. And then if there is not this readiness to hurl yourself into the abyss, but the abyss, you're face to face with the abyss, and then you're judging it as your worst nightmare, and you're in a state of being where you want to escape your worst nightmare. You don't want to experience it. You want to resist it. You want to run away. Oh, it's going to come at you, and it's going to be it's going to make it much more challenging. And then your worst nightmare is going to be haunting you, and it's going to be a reality. And sometimes it's just the case that people are unable to surrender. Even the greatest of the great beings of deep surrender and love, of the most experienced psychonauts, even Terence himself, who said that, right? I think towards the end of his life, he had some mushroom experiences which terrified the shit out of him, after which he never went back to the psychedelic experience. He continued talking about it, but he was not going back into the psychedelic experience just because he was terrified from some mushroom experiences later on in his life. So even these people, right, are sometimes not ready to hurl themselves into the abyss and embrace their greatest nightmare. And then from that, resistance is going to spring forth a deep challenge, which might even be very difficult to integrate. So there's dangers, there's traps, there's risks, there's the potential for great harm, and for also a difficult time afterwards. It is a potential. But again, then there's degrees to it. As I said, there might also be a challenging experience. For example, my 5-MeO experience. It was tough, it was challenging, it was significant, but it was nothing like, it was nothing that shook me to the core of my being. It was not even close to my greatest nightmare. It was a challenging and profound experience, and I could grow from this, but it was right? It was nothing like my worst nightmare. It was not even a nightmare. It was just a very tough, challenging experience from which I could recognize the learning and then grab myself, move onwards, and learn from it, and yeah, move on with my life. Hope that answers the question. Smiley face. Hello, happy that you're here. The knowing that goes beyond experience can be experienced when the self loses its identity by simply being itself. Oh, yeah, I agree. The noetic understanding and inner feeling, and knowing beyond knowing, we are immortal. Yes, aho, Roald. Smiley face is saying, the unmanifested is simply space being itself, not bound to an outcome, creating an omnipotent view. And in that space is between the presence of the manifested. Breathwork is the presence of the manifested, which the you manifested is being expressed through. Unmanifested is being expressed through. Yeah, beautiful, beautifully said. Breathwork is so beautiful. You know, I'm falling in love with the breath more and more. Not just breathwork in the intense sessions, but also just like continual breath awareness. Because you can't escape it. You can't escape the breath. It's so central to life as a human. It's wonderful, right? It's magical. Respergo saying, better surrender indeed. Yeah. Max Koran is saying, hello, happy that you're here. Did you break through every day? No, not even close. Not even close. I had about, in the past week, I would say, like 10 days now, or almost 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks, I had about four very intense experiences with 5-MeO DMT, and then a couple low to medium dose experiences. But not even, I wouldn't even say, I did not even have one full-on breakthrough experience in that space. Yeah, might have to smoke a bit more regarding this, or be willing to surrender a bit more. Smiley face, why are you deleting all your comments? I was just about to read it. Okay, guys, I have to move soon. I'll have to pack my bags and get going. As I said, wonderful that you're here. If you want to continue the conversation, I would love to continue this conversation with you. Come join our Psychedelic Actualization Path to Purpose community, where we come together as psychedelic enthusiasts, people on the psychedelic path, interested in the psychedelic path, and we come together to discover and actualize and realize our purpose here on this earth, to do this work together, to find direction and clarity and alignment after our psychedelic experiences, and bring this light out into the world. And I found that communities are a wonderful way to do this, not to be alone on the journey of having had a breakthrough 5-MeO experience, of having gone into psychedelic space and then coming back, not being able to talk about it, integrate it properly, turning these insights into actual change and transformation. This is what we're doing in the Psychedelic Actualization Path to Purpose community. There's exclusive content, live trips are going to be uploaded there, as YouTube is not very happy about me uploading them here. Foundational videos, there's going to be a course that's going to be built out over time. Lots of cool stuff, and weekly calls where we can actually talk person to person. Not just you in the chat here and me here, but we can talk person to person weekly in live group sessions where we can work one-on-one even in group settings and support each other on our journeys towards realizing our highest potential. I would love to see you in there. The price at the moment is $30 a month, around 350 a year. That's less than €1 per day. I don't know what you're thinking about, but you can join this right now. This price is only going to be available for the first like 5 people. After that, it's going to be way up, probably about to 50 and then $100 a month. So if you want in, come in right now. We had a call today. Mark is in there. Beautiful friend of mine now, brother, that has been following along on this channel here for a while, and now we are communicating every week, and we're talking and we're having chats, and it's very intimate, deep, beautiful experience. Come and join our community. Link is in the video description. Or if you have some questions and some concerns or doubts regarding your specific situation, and if this is right for you at this moment, you can also book a call with me. First link in the video description, and we can talk about you joining. Also, if there's some financial struggles, just reach out. We can work something out. We can find a certain energy exchange. But yeah, it's beautiful that this is gonna get going now. I'm so excited to keep this growing and keep the centerpiece and the inner circle of our community close together and actually communicate in person, so we can support each other also in the dashboard on preparing for psychedelic trips, sharing reports, navigating the space together, and integrating our experiences into our daily lives, finding direction, purpose. Come join our community. Beautiful. This counts for you as well, Dante. If you want any advice, come into the community. Actually, Mark is somebody who's smoked way more DMT than I did, like immense amounts of DMT. He can give you some advice. I can also share some. Okay, before I jump off, I want to share some not leave you empty-handed here. I'm always here to just give as much as I can, right? But it's fits like a monologue here, right? So I love to have a deeper connection. So I'm gonna smoke DMT for the first time. First of all, congrats. If you feel the calling, if you feel it's right timing for you, if the opportunity has presented itself to you, all the best for your experience. I am excited for you. I'm very excited for you, Dante. And I would love to hear back from you how your experience went. Any advice? Well, depending if you're going to do it alone, if you're going to do it with somebody present, with being with a facilitator who's actually guiding you or holding the space for the journey. For starting alone, if you're alone and do not have a trip sitter or facilitator or guide or shaman or however you want to call them with you, I personally would start to don't be afraid or just consider to start low and then work your way up. I know, especially with the NNDMT in the community, there's these two perspectives of like, you can the breakthrough is where it's at. You gotta smoke as much as possible, as fast as possible. Like as Terence McKenna said, take 3 big hits and you're gonna be breaking through. What I have found on my journeys, it's like there's nothing wrong. There's actually very much a lot of beauty in the lower dosages of the DMT. And it's a nice tapping into the space, shaking your hand with the substance. You can actually make several sessions, go into several experiences during an evening even, because the tolerance is going to be built, broken down so quickly. So yeah, just feel into yourself. Like, are you ready to just jump into the deep water, but then prepare yourself for it to be a completely shocking experience, just be able to fully dedicate yourself to surrender and just see what emerges out of you. If you're doing it with a friend, just one of you at the time. I would recommend that one is sober and the other one is going in, and then vice versa. If both of you want to go in, don't go in both at the same time. It's a heartfelt recommendation, because you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, otherwise don't be afraid to start slow. Start low, take 1 toke, 2 tokes, hold it properly. Like try to smoke and hold it properly. I don't know how familiar you are with smoking the DMT, vaporizing it. If you have changa, if you have crystal DMT, it takes a bit of skill to actually vaporize the crystal DMT properly, not burn it. Yeah, and then work your way up from there. Develop a relationship with the substance. I like to do that. And for me, one of the biggest parts when I started smoking DMT, it was funny. I had these expectations, you know, because you hear so many things about DMT. You hear machine elves and alien entities and operations and colorful visions and whatever else, right? And the bliss of God and energetic releases and this and that. You hear so many things. And I had an expectation when I went into my first few DMT experiences that it's going to be a certain way. Just leave them behind. Like, it's beautiful to hear all about trip reports and about other people's experiences, but that is their experience. And especially for the DMT, as it's such a wonderful, deep, central molecule for all of us, I found that each and every single one of us, each and every single human being, even though there can be patterns that are emerging, has a very unique relationship with this substance. There is a very unique experience emerging just for yourself. So don't expect the experience to be anything like what you've heard. Don't expect to meet the elves. Don't expect to see colors. Leave out all the expectations or the stories or the thoughts and imaginations on what you believe is going to happen. Just open yourself up to that experience. To your experience. Because this is you. This is your experience. This is you stepping into the space. And only you. Right? So open yourself up to that. Open yourself up to that natural, unique experience that is going to be unfolding for you personally. And then I can just say, like, right, the basic protocol, basically trust, surrender, receive. Maybe take this as a mantra with you. Have a little bit of a mindset of openness, of trusting. That I found that the DMT is a very benevolent molecule, especially for beginners, and trust that what's going to be shown to you is exactly right for you right now. And then open yourself up, surrender into that, let go into that, embrace what is emerging, and then receive what is being shown to you. Just receive it. Without judgment, without trying to think about it. Relax into it. This is what helps me. Just, trust, surrender, receive, relax. Don't have any expectation, don't have any judgment. And you're going to be good. You're going to be fine. And hope this helped. And report back to me. I would love to know. Either shoot me a mail or follow me on Instagram or like whatever else. But I would love to know how it goes. It's always wonderful to see people tapping into the DMT space for the first time. I really love that. I love to see people experience that realm for the first time. It's magical. It's one of my greatest passions. I feel very fulfilled. And it's filling up my cup to see people going into that space. So beautiful. All the best, Dante. Okay, I'm gonna sing a song. I'm really have to go on right now. I said it's just gonna be an hour, and now it's been like an hour and 30 minutes. So I'll have things to do. Lots of cool stuff coming up. Like for this channel, cool stuff is coming up. I'm taking a step back actually from working on videos at the moment. There's still gonna be a lot coming, but this channel here is gonna be moving into a fantastic direction. Like there's gonna be so much cool stuff coming. You won't believe it. So much valuable content. Again, as I said, join the community. Psychedelic Actualization community. If you want to work with me one-on-one, just shoot me a message or book a free one-on-one call so we can talk about working together. Thank you all for being here. I love you all. You are like my family. So that's why we're gonna sing a little funny family song right here. It's called The Coconut Tree. It's a rainbow song. It's something stuck in my head for hours. I love my family, I love my life, and now I live in a coconut tree. It's good, it's good, it's good to be free, singing with the birds and swimming in the sea. I love my family, I love my life, and now I live in a coconut tree. It's good, it's good, it's good to be free, singing with the birds and swimming in the sea. I love my family, I love my life, and now I live in a coconut tree. It's good, it's good, it's good to be free, singing with the birds and swimming in the sea. I love my family, I love my life, and now I live in a coconut tree. It's good, it's good, it's good to be free, singing with the birds and swimming in the sea. I love my family, Okay, we could go on over and over and over. See these 3 lines, and sometimes they're stuck in my head for hours upon hours. I love my family, I love my life, and now I live in a coconut tree. It's good, it's good, it's good to be free, singing with the birds and swimming in the sea. I love my family, I love my life. Okay, love you all. Come join me next Sunday again for the live stream, if it's gonna be Sunday, or yeah, I'll have to see. Love you all, my beautiful family, and talk soon. Bye. Thank you all for being here for this magical, wonderful live stream and for participation.